It's been a couple of months now. A crazy adventure with a talking hamster, some dark beings called shadows, and a battle between myself. Literally. I still don't know what a persona is, but it was cool. Oh well. Nothing bad will happen soon, right?
Eve!
Sippy. Wait, was that all a dream? I thought I heard Sippy's voice. Oh, whatever that was, it all happened in the past. Gotta go get ready for school now. Alright, gotta wear a mask now. Ever since I finished off my shadow self, some mysterious air just spread around the world. Wonder what's that all about? Persona 5 Royal is the next Persona game after Persona 4. A lot of things were changed for the better between Persona 4 and 5. For this review, I want to put some rules. First of all, I'll mainly be referring to Persona 5 Royal over the first version of Persona 5. Reason being, that's the canon version, the improved version, and the only version of the game I played. This does not mean I will not talk about the first version of Persona 5 though. Second thing is, there are a lot of things I will not go into detail with. That's because I already talked about most of these things in detail in my Persona 4 review. So if you want to know more, either play the game or go back to my Persona 4 video. It's also so I can make this video a little shorter compared to the last Persona video. Hopefully. There are timestamps for all things I go over, so without further ado, the next Persona review will begin. Persona 5 initially came out on September 15th, 2016 for Japan. But the rest of the world didn't have to wait long until they got the game, as the game came out for different regions sometime around 2017. The game was initially meant to be made for the PS3, but because of time and the PS4 was coming out, look what game has two versions now. But that was somewhat good news, as the game was coming to a more modern console. However, that meant the game would look more like the PS3 version on PS4 with a little improved graphics. But then in typical Persona fashion, Atlus dropped a second version of Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal, aka the canon version of the game. Royal came out in October 2019 in Japan, and around the first 3 months of 2020 for the rest of the world. This version has improved graphics, and when I say improved, I mean now it supports 4K, pretty much improved. But there's also a whole new story after the original story ends, and major gameplay changes. So get Royal because it's the better version of the game. Good thing you can play it on PS5 with its backwards compatibility. Actually, you can play both games. But if you want the 4K experience without buying a PS4 Pro, just play it on PS5. When you can get one, that is. So how do Persona games work? Well, I gave a decent explanation of how these games usually work on my Persona 4 video. Go check that video out, please. Also drop a subscribe for possibly more Persona videos in the future. Well, I gotta talk about Persona 3 anyways. So now, I'll just give a smaller version of that explanation. First of all, there are two different worlds you usually go to. The story takes place in the real world, while all the battles and stuff would take place in the other world. You can get multiple personas for the main character and basically get more attacks that way, kind of like Pokemon. You'd have a party of 4 other characters, including the main protagonist, and progress through a day-to-day calendar to finish the story. Each event takes place in specific days, and if you miss a deadline, you'll have to repeat the mission. And that's basically the gist of how Persona games work. Very watered down explanation, but stick around for the rest of the video if you want to know more. And also my thoughts. So, every Persona game takes place in a different location. In Persona 4, the place was a small fictional town in Japan called Inaba. This time, we are in Tokyo, baby. No fiction around here. Okay, maybe a little. But because of this area, the game could have so many possible places, albeit not every location is free to roam around, but most of them are interactable with. Some of them are there just as a hangout spot, sadly. but this is a good start into making more places in the Persona series. The location you would be spending the most time in is Yogen-jaya. This is the place the protagonist stays at. Long story short, the protagonist has to stay at a cafe's attic. At Yogen-jaya, you also have a couple of places to waste time in or shop. Some places include the bathhouse, the laundromat, the theater, and the batting center. Some places are only accessible during specific times of day though. The next place is the protagonist's school, Shujin Academy. There isn't anything crazy important here, just mainly a place you can meet people to increase their S-link. That's right, social links are back! This school also only matters at the start of the game, because that is where you guys meet to go to the other dimension. It changes later in the story, but other than the small parts in the story, you won't need to be here. A pretty well done place in this game was Shibuya. I already said this game took place in Tokyo, so imagine if Shibuya didn't appear. Maybe the World Ends With You did take inspiration from Persona 5. Shibuya is home to a bunch of facilities. Actually, there are many parts in this one place. You have the train station, which has some leaflets you can use to find part-time jobs, and is the place you arrive at when you are coming to Shibuya. You have the station square, which doesn't have anything too important. It just connects parts you can go to in Shibuya. You have the underground mall and the underground walkway, and they have some shops you can go to. You may also meet up with people to further your social links with. And the biggest part of this location, Central Street. This basically is the main part of Shibuya, with the weapon shop, some pharmacies, and convenience stores being here. There's also an arcade that you don't really play anything in, and also a movie theater. They mainly are here for social link reasons. If you compare the endgame Shibuya to real life, the details are remarkable. But then again, why would you remake Shibuya when you could just use it as a reference? Shinjuku is another Tokyo location in this game. Obviously, Shinjuku is more of an adult place, and since the protagonist is a minor, there isn't too much to be done here. There are mainly social link stuff to do here. You can also work as a bartender for some reason. Okay? Kanda has a church. That's pretty much it. You know, I'm starting to think these are just real locations in Tokyo. There's a Catholic church there in real life if you were wondering. This is mainly a place for Hifumi Togo's social link. You can also recover moves you decide to forget here by confessing. You can only come here during the evening for some reason. Akihabara, aka the electronic geek town of Tokyo, basically has the major stuff you would think Akihabara has. Alright, that's it. All these places in the game exist in real life. There are a bunch of electronic stores, a maid cafe, and a better arcade than Shibuya. The place mainly has stuff you can buy and get achievements from. There's also a social link you could get here from the arcade. Speaking of the arcade, you can actually play stuff here. Well, just the crane game. But that's pretty much it. Man, such a missed opportunity. You could have done what Final Fantasy VII did in the Gold Saucer. The newest place added in Persona 5 Royal is Kichijoji. This actually has so much content in it. You've got a cafe, a Buddhist temple, which probably has the greatest cutscene in the game, a bunch of food shops, a used clothes shop, and the Penguin Cafe. The reason I mentioned Penguin Cafe is because you can play some games here, which is probably a good reason to visit this place. It also has a place you can hang out with your friends, but that's really it for all major places in the game. Obviously, there are minor places in the game. There's fishing, who can forget about that? It's actually changed in this game, with the use of motion controls and stuff. Watch Persona 6 use the adaptive triggers for fishing. Then there are the other places that only are accessed via social link events. These places are actually cool, but sadly you can't do anything there, like that Disneyland looking place or the aquarium. Then there's the shrine, where you can pray to better your relationships with your social links. And finally, there's the bookstore. There are a couple already presented like in Shibuya or Shinjuku. but this one's accessed after you get rank 4 in Hifumi's social link. This basically gets you a place called Jimbocho, which is only there for its old bookstore, and that's pretty much it for all places in the game. Except when it's not. You see, if you were focusing on how this video was formatted, it's the same order as the Persona 4 video. That means we're diving into a new dimension. In this game, the second dimension is called the Metaverse. It's basically a place that was born by everyone's negative cognitions. That's where Mementos comes in. It exists because of people having negative thoughts and feeling miserable. But that's not the only place you discover. Just like the dungeons from Persona 4, there are palaces for specific characters. These are the people who are corrupt because of their own power. This time, almost every major villain is an adult. Yeah, imagine being a corrupt adult in this day and age. But it's only there during the time you're changing their cognition. So after the mission involving them, the palace disappears. So that's why Mementos also exists. So you can get personas and level up between missions. But that's really it for the Metaverse. I'll talk about the palaces more later.
I can't believe I got Persona 5 Royal, and I brought it to school of all places. Only nothing bad happened. What do you think you're going? But there's so many Royal box. Oh, good. Nothing bad happened to it. Oh, so you decided to ignore me. Well then, I'll be taking this from you. Leave that back. Sure, take it. Wait, I didn't think of saying that. By the way, what's your name? It's Eebworld. Yeah, I got a good feeling about this city using it. Something's not right.
Oh boy, everyone's favorite part of the game, getting all the party members. In Persona 4, I didn't count the protagonist as one party member, but if I do, that means there are 8 party members. But in this game, Persona 5 Royal that is, there are 10 party members, and yes, that is including the protagonist. So, in the order that you get the characters, you have Ren Amamiya, the main protagonist, Morgana, not a cat, not a human, but born by humans' thoughts, Ryuji Sakamoto, he is always for real. An Takamaki, somewhat misunderstood, but is getting there. Yusuke Kitigawa, a pretty boy, but also an idiot. Makoto Nijima, the truly misunderstood one. Sorry Anne, but I had to give your spot away. Futaba Sakura, maybe actually the misunderstood one? Haru Okamura, the most tragic rich girl story I actually have seen so far. And Akechi Goro, the worst party member for some time, are all party members in the original Persona 5. However, in Persona 5 Royal, you get 2 new party members. Misunderstood Akechi Goro, definitely a hater of pancakes, and Kasumi Yoshizawa, who isn't really what you thought she was. All these characters have stories you see unfold through the story's events. It's not as mopey as all the social link events that Persona 4 had, but I'll talk about that in a bit. Every character is a normal, controllable party member, except Futaba, who is actually a support party member. Everything pretty much works like the last game. The type of party member is harder to figure out, but it is there. Ryuji and Haru are pretty much tanks. Morgana is more for healing. Yusuke deals more physical damage. An is pretty much a mage, and so is Makoto. Misunderstood Akechi and Kasumi are pretty much heavy hitters. And you guessed it, the protagonist is a jack of all traits. This isn't factual, since this is how I view them and how I use these characters. You may see them differently. It's all up to your viewpoint. Enough about the party members. Time for some other characters. Here we go, as it's time for social links. These are just short side stories to give an in-depth look of how every character you have social links with think. They all have their problems, but that's where you come and comfort them. In the party, The order you obtain the social links are Ryuji, who gets his on April 12th as part of the story. Ann's social link comes next, as you get it on the 15th of April, 3 days after Ryuji. You also obtain it the same way, since it starts automatically during the story. Yusuke comes next, and you get his social link on the 18th of June. This is not started automatically by the story, so you'll have to meet him on that day to start it. Makoto comes next, and it's available after the mission involving her. This one's manual, so you'll have to start it by going to the student council office. Futaba is unlocked on August 31st by the story. By getting her social link, you also get access to Akihabara, Haru's after Futaba, and she's unlocked by going to the school's roof on October 30th. And finally, the new member in Persona 5. The second half of Kasumi's S-Link is unlocked after you do her first 5 social link levels. That's right, you'll have to do something special to actually unlock the second half and the rest of the story. This second half starts on January 13. The other characters include Sojiro, who you unlock through the story early on. Tae Takemi, the nurse. You unlock hers on April 18. Yuki Mishima, who you get on May 6th automatically. Toranosuke Yoshida, who is also unlocked on May 6th, but manually. Iwai Munashiya, who is also unlocked on May 6th, but manually. The wardens in the Velvet Room, who are unlocked on May 18th automatically. Takeda Maruki, who is unlocked on May 13th by the story. Sadayo Kawakami, who is unlocked on the 24th of May by the story. Akechi Goro, who is unlocked on the 10th of June by the story. You gain Ichiko Oya once you gain access to Shinjuku. Chihaya Hifune is unlocked on the 22nd of June in Shinjuku. Hifumi Togo, who was unlocked on June 25th after the Bank Palace. And lastly, Shinya Oda, who was unlocked on September 4th, quite a while after Hifumi. And the last set of characters are all automatically progressed. These characters include Igor, Morgana, and Sae. Not much to say about these social links other than the fact that they level up through the story. Akechi used to be in this category, but Persona 5 Royal made him a manual character. If anything, I think Akechi was the most unfinished character of the original game. He was just kinda there. This time, social links actually feel rewarding to complete. Instead of just getting new personas you can fuse in New Game Plus after finishing an S-Link, you can actually get advantages when you go into the Metaverse. The most broken one is Ryuji's insta-killing weaker shadows. I unintentionally became level 99 because of this power-up, but not all need to be in the Metaverse. Futaba gives you Akihabara when you start her S-Link. Yusuke can make battle cards from blank cards when you start his S-Link. The wardens allow you to do multiple things with your personas in the Velvet Room, and many more. But that pretty much sums it up for social links. They're pretty handy now. That's a great thing.
What's going on?
You're Eebworld, right?
Who's asking?
I heard you're the next victim of Takumi.
Takumi? Did you say Takumi?
Yeah, he's a brutal one.
Takumi, huh? I've been bullied by him before. It wasn't the greatest It was the best experience of my life.
What are you talking? Isn't he just the greatest?
What? No, this feels too fake. It's like this is his world. Gotta get out of here.
Ebe.
What's going on? Wait, was that you, Sippy?
How did you get here?
I don't know. Is this inside the TV?
No, this is kinda hard to explain, but sit tight.
Life. You live it, I live it, and so do the characters in this game. Every Persona game works with an in-game calendar. The original Persona 5 started on April 11th and pretty much ended on December 24th. The whole adventure, I mean. The real last day is on March 19, where the protagonist leaves Tokyo. Who would have thought? Another protagonist leaving the town on the last day. In Persona 5 Royal, the adventure starts in the same day, but it ends on February 3rd this time. That's a first. I never thought the month of February existed in these games. But again, the protagonist leaves Tokyo on the same day as before. How life works in these games are pretty much the same in every game. You have a variety of things you can do during the day and the night respectively. Of course, some old things come back, like going around town during day and night, going fishing, working at a part-time job, reading, and doing some social links. But there are also new activities added, such as going to a batting center, playing some video games to boost up stats, going to the gym, meditating in a temple, and many, many more. This game is packed with things to do during the day. It makes it more varied than the last game in the series. A new location added in Royal was Kichijoji. There's actually a place that lets you play games like darts or billiards with your party members. It's actually a neat addition. You can actually control what you're doing, which makes this worth going to at least once. The batting center is a location that also makes you engaged. This place has you aim the bat to where you think the ball's going to go and try to get a home run. You can stay here for an unlimited amount of time at night, while at day you have a limit. And finally, the fishing in this game is overhauled. It's not mashing a button every time you get a bite now. No. Now you have to pick the bait and aim where you want to put the fishing hook. And when it's time to reel, you have to keep the rod balanced and mash a button. It's way more exciting this way. You have many jobs you can choose. It's not like Persona 4's where you only decide to work on that day. You actually have to work on your memory skills and other types of skills during these jobs. Again, you're being kept engaged throughout the whole experience. It's almost like you are the protagonist. Isn't that the point though? It's not really necessary to do part-time jobs. They're there to help your real-life stats, which do come back in this game, and may require some Mementos quests. And I'll be talking about Mementos quests right now. Quests are somewhat in this game. They aren't like Persona 4's where it's called quests. It's more like a mission that requires you to fight something in Mementos pretty much all the time. A social link mission, a phantom website mission, and any other type of mission, they always end up making you go to Mementos to complete a quest. You do get a reward for doing this, but it's a pretty dry way of making side quests. I have to say, Persona 4 was a bit better with their side quests. Sure, you do end up going inside the TV for most of the time in that game, but at least not all the missions are like that. Anyone want to feed a cat? Is this segment short? Well, it wasn't that long in my last video. A measly minute and 18 seconds. What's more to say? So, to summarize, this isn't the TV. This is Takami's palace. It's accessed by a phone with a weird looking app. But I didn't even use my phone.
Did you compare his desires to the real world?
Well, I did say this whole situation feels like it's in his world.
That must be it. The app probably heard you, and it took you here without you noticing.
Wait, what app? What the hell's this? When did I even get this app?
It's only there for people who are special.
Special? Wait. That means I have to do troubling stuff again!
Hey, quiet down. Shadows exist in this world as well.
Too late.
Why?
Because they're standing right behind you.
Oh no.
It's okay, because I've got a persona. Alright, Hachiman, let's go!
This isn't the TV. You can't summon your persona like you used to.
This has to be some sort of joke. Hachiman!
Prepare to die.
So talks.
I'll start with the pipsqueak.
No! Ebe, save me!
This can't be happening. I have to save him.
So, it's come to this.
Is that you, Hachiman?
Hachiman, that old fool isn't here. You may call me Hachiman's counterpart, for I am now thou, and thou art now I. You want to save your friend? Accept who I am, for this is your only chance. Call out me name,
Blackbeard! This ghetto. Anyways, Let's save City.
How could this happen? It shouldn't have ended this way.
Ebe!
Do you think you are useless?
What? Is this what happened to Ebe?
It looks like you want to help your friend. Why not call out my name, and you may be able to help him. Look into your heart and truly believe in your true self, for then you will be able to help out your friend.
My true self. That's it. We can do this together. Oni!
Zippy, you have a persona.
I'm sorry it took so long. We can do this together.
Can't deny that. Let's do this. So, you got me last time. What's the plan?
Same as before. Make them weak, and we finish it off with an all-out attack.
Alright, sounds good to me. Let's go for a Zeal Blackbeard! Whoa, this power.
Here, give me a high five.
Okay.
You just passed your energy to me. Now I'm more powerful.
So, are you gonna use it or keep talking?
Sorry. Alright, Oni. Let's blow them away with a Maguru.
Oh well. You wanna repent for picking on us?
Never. Will only listen to Takumi.
Uh-oh. Someone's not sorry. Shall we?
We shall. That was a close one. I'm gonna go back to the real world to talk to Takumi.
Alright. Before you go, take this.
Gun? Sure. I'm gonna go back now.
I'll be watching.
Okay. Wait, what?
The biggest part of any JRPG is its battles. If there was a JRPG that never made you fight an enemy, then it's just not an RPG. Anyways, Persona 5's battle system works pretty much the same as Persona 4's. You still have the same options, you still get to choose what personas the protagonist will use, and there are still the weaknesses and all-out attacks. There are actually overhauls in this game though. The most obvious difference to the battle system is the UI. I have mixed feelings about this, mostly positive, but I still see some flaws. This battle UI looks really clean. It's around the character, and this is something very unique I never thought I would see in an RPG. Name any other RPG that has something like this that came out before Persona. There may be a few, but I haven't played any, so there's that. But what I dislike is how good this looks. That's right, there were no flaws to begin with. The next overhaul is with the new weapon added. Every party member has a melee weapon and a ranged weapon. I find this pretty neat, but the ranged weapons only have limited ammo. That's a shame, but at least they made it better in Royal. They used to have a limited amount of ammo per visit to the Metaverse. Now the limit resets every battle, and the final thing that was overhauled is the all-out attacks. If you've never seen these, shame on you. These are really stylish, and there's no way you can choose the older version to this. There's something really neat to these, giving every character a unique card to end the attack with, something that was added in Persona 5 Royal's Showtime events. These are mini cinematics that happen with two characters and deals tons of damage to the enemy. They're really good, and I think my favorite one is with Akechi and Joker. Something they did add to this battle system is the ability to make choices when an enemy is down. You have the option to do an all-out attack or back out, or you may also have the option to get money or valuables from the shadows, or make them into your persona. Getting money or an item is like the easy way out in these choices. The only downside is if you haven't killed any shadows in the battle, you won't be able to get any XP from them. But the way you obtain the personas have changed, and guess what? I'm now gonna talk about personas. Well, apart from it being the title of the game, they're pretty much like the party's Pokemon in a way. Basically, all party members have access to one persona, but the main protagonist has access to multiple. I don't want to get into too much detail for this, so just watch my other video. All you really need to know is, almost every persona has a weakness, and also has different abilities they can use. So, going back to what I was talking about earlier, personas are obtained differently in this game. So long the card minigame and hello negotiations. What you do is you get a persona down, decide to negotiate with them, and every enemy has characteristics. There are 4 possible types of moods they will be in: gloomy, irritable, timid, and upbeat. They all have different types of responses that reflect their mood. Gloomy likes vague answers, but dislikes serious or funny answers. Irritable likes serious responses, but dislikes vague or kind answers. Timid likes kind answers, but not vague or funny ones. And upbeat likes funny and dislikes serious and vague. With that knowledge, all that's left to do is negotiate. Pick the answer that sounds like they will like it, and they usually ask around 3 questions. If you make them mad with your responses, they'll go right back to fighting you. So choose wisely. You may have noticed this, but every enemy in this game is actually a persona. Of course, that does not include the final bosses of the palace. But by knowing what the persona is weak to, you'll also know what the enemy is weak to automatically if you have their type as a persona. There are some personas that won't spawn, and those are special fusion personas, as in the personas you can fuse once you finish a social link. These don't spawn because they're obviously special, but that also means the Velvet Room still exists in this game. The Velvet Room is a bit different from the last game. You do get to fuse the personas like the previous games, and most recently, apply skill cards to them. There's also a way to make personas an item. And another feature added to this game is giving the strength of one persona to another. Pretty much a Namekian fusion if you know what I mean. You'll notice that when there are actions done to these personas, it's done violently. This could be using a guillotine to fuse the personas, to using an electric chair to make them into an item. There are also lockdowns in the Velvet Room that gives the persona you want to fuse stats and abilities they're not supposed to have. That really does it for personas in this game. Not much changed, but still enough to make it unique. Now the areas you go to in this game are not called dungeons, but they're called palaces. They work very differently from the previous game, aka Persona 4. They were also altered a bit from the first version of Persona 5. Well, let me start with the differences from Persona 4. For starters, just look at how much bigger and wider this looks. You actually have more puzzles in these dungeons than in Persona 4. How they work is, you would go to a major room and you would have to do some sort of puzzle. They all vary, and I don't think there are any that feel too similar. You'd fight mini-bosses in the palaces like the last game. However, this time they feel like they actually contribute something to the story. Safe rooms were a new thing added in this game, and they are actually lifesavers. You would normally spend a long time in a dungeon without saving, but with safe rooms, saving in a dungeon is now possible. They also act as a place to restore your health and magic with certain items and a place to consult with your party members. These are the biggest lifesavers added to Persona. These palaces are so much better by a mile compared to Persona 4. And in Persona 5R, they revamped them quite a bit. One big thing they added was the grappling hook. This was barely even present on Persona 5. Maybe they remembered Joker's up B? Another thing that was added to these palaces were the will seeds. These seeds act as collectibles. It's better to find all the will seeds ASAP, as after the palace is gone, you can't obtain these seeds anymore. When you collect the seeds, they combine into one, and you give it to Joel so he can give you an item out of it. Who's Joel? Well, we gotta look at Mementos to know that. Sure, the palaces disappear after a certain date, but one palace that never disappears is Mementos. Like I said earlier, this is how society sees the world. Pretty sad. Mementos takes place in the Shibuya train station since it's the most compact place. This is a place that never goes away, so if you wanted to grind or get some personas or whatever, you would come to Mementos. There are new layers that open after a while, so you don't just get the same stuff every time. The Reaper is a mini boss that when you beat him, you get a lot of XP. This sounds good, but the Reaper is actually 1, rare, and 2, hard to beat. I actually got the Reaper pretty much at the end of the game, and they wouldn't stop spawning at some point. It was meh, honestly. Now going back to the question earlier, Joel is a new character added in Persona 5 Royal. Pretty much, he is like a mini shop in Mementos. There are flower bubbles that are like currency to him, and you can exchange them for items and stuff. But there are stamps that are collectibles for Mementos that have a different function. You have the ability to exchange them with Joel to change the stats of Mementos, like what items you get or how much money you obtain. These stamps stay with you after leaving Mementos, while the flowers reset. Joel is a random spawning character, so it won't be guaranteed you will see him in your visit to Mementos every time. That is, if you aren't going to spend much time. Oh yeah, Mementos also changes its appearance every time you go there, so the floor layout won't be the same every time.
Talk to me.
Oh, did you decide to worship me?
Over my dead body. I came here to talk.
What's this all about? Did you come into my palace and snoop around?
That's exactly what... Hold on. How'd you know about, well, all of that?
Basically, I got a wake-up call from this inner voice of mine named King. It claims a persona of mine that I inherit. So long story short, I control the dimensions now. You never left the Metaverse. Right now, the world and the Metaverse are infused.
So my phone had nothing to do with it?
Well, your phone did hear your analysis, but you tricked in when I changed the dimensions. It only fits how I want to see the world.
No way.
Is that a talking hamster? You teamed up with that? Pathetic.
I knew you were a dick, but now I know you're a real dick. You're going to eat those words.
Oh, is that so? You won't be getting my treasure unless you can beat me.
That's right. I have to get your treasure to change your heart.
Well then, guess you better find me.
Wait! Does that mean we have to discover the whole palace? So, what do we do now? We're in his palace, but where do we go?
My animal instincts tell me that we have to go straight.
Oh, you mean through that door? Alright. Take this, Blackbeard, go! Alright. Go! That was good. Alright.
Aw man, music slaps just as hard as ever. This time, the music direction in this game is trying to go for a more jazz vibe to it. A lot of the songs in this game will have vocals in them. I think this may be the Persona game that has the most vocal songs in the game. I don't mind it. It really is nice. This time around, there isn't a reincarnation album, which is a shame. But for what the songs are already, they really don't need one. Who knows? They may be making one soon and we just don't know. Whatever the case is, it really is just good. Did anyone else notice the Shin Megami Tensei song that was added in the Penguin Sniper place? Now when Persona 6 does city pop type music, that's it. That will be the Persona game to outrank all Persona music. Maybe. Well, this part of the video is very spoiler heavy. You know the drill. If you want to be spoiled or you already know what happens, you can stay. But if you don't, then skip to a later part of this video. Now you know why I have timestamps for videos like this, huh? This time around, I won't be putting much gameplay footage for the story. I much rather use the cutscenes because I really just don't want to play around 50 hours of the game for footage. I also think I won't have enough space if I did that. So please excuse me this time, and I'll also try and keep this segment as short as possible, but also try to make it make sense. So the game starts pretty differently than the previous games, as you just get right into it. You're trying to escape someone's palace, and your team is guiding you through it. It's a bit different from the first version, as the new character is also there. You do stuff, and when you actually get out of it, that gets you arrested, and you now have to talk to the detectives looking at your case. You give them your name and stuff, then you pretty much give them an explanation, which is actually a flashback. The majority of this game is actually a flashback. You talk about how it started. You're a kid who was sent to Tokyo because of probationary reasons. Apparently, you did something so bad that you were seen as an outlaw. You see yourself while Shibuya is frozen for some reason. When you sleep that day, you end up in the Velvet Room. You get introduced to how this stuff works. Fast forward a bit, and you go as a student at Shujin Academy. You meet An for the first time, then Ryuji comes as An is getting into this man's car. Spoiler alert, this is a PE teacher named Kamoshida. He's pretty much an abuser who uses his own power to not only look good, but touch underage girls. Wow. You and Ryuji end up going to his palace without noticing, and stuff happens. You awaken your persona, save Ryuji, and call it a day. But hold on, you actually stumble upon Morgana before that and rescue him. Then you get out and decide to look into this more carefully. You see An crying after a phone call she got, and turns out Kamoshida has been doing things with An's friend, Shiho. She actually tried killing herself by jumping off the roof of the school. Thankfully, she didn't die from that. Sometime later, An ends up going in with you guys because she was in range when you guys were entering the Metaverse. She gets captured, then unlocks her persona. You do the fight and whatever, and after that, it is now up to you guys to find Kamoshida's treasure. Once you find it, you are eligible to send out the calling card, a card that lets the palace owner know that you're ready to fight them. When you defeat Kamoshida, An decides to not kill him. If his shadow gets killed, the real version will pretty much be a doll. So she wants him to repent in the real world, since it will mean that there was some form of justice. After all that happens, you guys decide to throw a party. The first and supposedly last mission as the Phantom Thieves was a success, but then Mishima started a website for a request to the Phantom Thieves. You guys come across a story where an art mentor is using his student. It sounds like a big problem, but you don't have any way of doing anything with that info. But then, An thinks she has a stalker tailing her. You guys wait until this guy makes his move. Turns out, he just wants An to be his model for his next art piece. You find out a couple of things. The guy's name is Yusuke, and his mentor is Madarame. And the mentor pretty much uses his student's art as his own just to get famous. Yusuke ends up in Madarame's palace somehow and pretty much sees how terrible Madarame is. I actually like Madarame's palace a lot. Moving on, Yusuke summons his persona for the first time when he sees Shadow Madarame and stuff. He ends up tagging with you guys after Madarame threatens all of you that he's going to get the police involved. So you find Madarame's treasure and fight his shadow. Later on, he decides to confess all his fraud to the public and pretty much gets thrown in jail. And that's the end of that. Very watered down, I know. Now that the Phantom Thieves have targeted 2 people and succeeded in changing them, the school starts worrying about it. Why? Because it all started in Shujin Academy with Kamoshida. So, the principal of the school was ordered to do an investigation in the matter. He ended up giving the role to Makoto Najima, a 3rd year and the student council president. He pretty much told her that if she does a good job in finding them, he will try and get her into any university she wants. Sounds like a good deal, right? Turns out, Makoto's sister is a detective, and you guessed it, that was the person who was investigating you this whole time. So she snoops around you guys and you try to shake her off. Then students were getting blackmailed by a gang and she was trying to solve that. Nope, the dude just took her and threatened her as well. So now she has to decide what the right thing is. Makoto decides to stick with you guys, hoping to solve this problem. Turns out, Kaneshiro, the gang leader that threatened her, has his own palace, so guess what? You go in it. But where is it? Have you ever considered looking up? Yup, this palace is in the sky. So Makoto unlocks her persona from that point, and you just do the typical stuff at this point. You fight Shadow Kaneshiro, and he tells you something important. Something about another person killing the shadows. That kinda explains why there were mental shutdowns, but who can do such a thing? Oh well. Now the team consists of Makoto, Yusuke, An, Ryuji, Morgana, and yours truly. So now you guys all decided to go to the fireworks festival since it's summer. It ends up raining and you see a girl who looks upset getting into a limousine. A group called Medjed decided to target the Phantom Thieves and tried to hack them. You guys try to stop that, but you get a request from someone to change their hearts. This person ended up being Futaba. You try and find her out to get enough info to go into her cognition. It turns out, our palace takes place in the desert. You find out the truth about her and see her tragic past and why she was suffering. At the same time, she somehow ended up in her cognition too. The main boss this time was actually her deceased mother. It's the biggest thing you fight thus far. But during this battle, Futaba's persona awakens and she helps you out from there. You fight Futaba's shadow mom and escape her palace. Now that that's over, Futaba hacks the Medjed that threatened you. Turns out, she started Medjed, but people use the name to scare people. Well, now there isn't anything to do, and it's still summer vacation, and you know what that means? Time to go to the beach. It's such a lighthearted moment. I like moments like this in the Persona series. And then school starts. It's actually time to go on a school trip and your grade ends up going to Hawaii. Yusuke also has a school trip and he was meant to go to California, but ends up in Hawaii as well. Nice. And once all that's over, something interesting happens. The principal of Shujin Academy was going to the police station when suddenly his mind shut. That doesn't mean he died, it just meant he couldn't control himself. And since it shut in the middle of the road, a truck ended up running over him, which ends up killing him. Alright, something's definitely up. It's probably because he still didn't find out who the Phantom Thieves were. Now that the principal's dead, what next? Well, since this is Persona 5 Royal, something was added between Futaba's arc and the one after. A mini arc happens to set up for later in the game. I call it the Kasumi arc. Basically, you see Kasumi in front of a building that was never built. Turns out, you two are in the Metaverse in some form. You don't really understand how, but you guys go in there. A few things happen and Kasumi awakens her persona. Someone was watching too much Sailor Moon. Well, now Kasumi knows you are part of the Phantom Thieves. She decides to leave that stuff with you guys and try not to interfere. That was a short arc, but it wasn't the last time she will come. Next up comes Okumura. So there was a rumor about Okumura foods ever since you guys were in Hawaii. What happens is you guys try to look at what the problem is, and there is a student with the same last name. Look who it is, the same girl that looked upset during the festival. So what you guys do is try to get into her father's palace. During that time though, Morgana had a breakdown and pretty much abandoned you guys. The person who took Morgana at this time was indeed Haru, Okumura's daughter. She actually somehow ended up going into the palace with Morgana, and her persona awakened, just not fully. But when the whole gang reunites and Morgana stops being a baby, Haru awakens her persona for real. So you already know the drill at this point. When it was time to confront Okumura's shadow, he traps everyone except Morgana. Since everyone was calling Morgana useless, Okumura wanted to make a deal with Morgana. But it turns out that Morgana still wants to tag along with you guys. He had his biggest moment and became not useless by breaking them free. So you beat Okumura and things were meant to go as planned. But after you guys leave the palace, another figure comes and actually kills Okumura's shadow. You guys wait for Okumura to give his speech at a press conference where he is supposedly meant to apologize. But no, he actually has a mental shutdown even though you guys did everything properly. This was actually all a setup to make you guys look bad and it worked pretty well. Now that the world is turning against the Phantom Thieves, what comes next? Actually, the school's cultural festival is what comes next. Kasumi decided to have a dance, and it was pretty nice watching. The animation was pretty good, nothing crazy, but you guys knew you were set up and the person who set you up knew where you were going next. So what you decided to do was target Saya Nijima, Makoto's older sister, and the detective that was onto you. Here, Akechi Goro actually joins you guys. I didn't say anything about him, but you met him on a school trip and he was interested in your view of the Phantom Thieves. He pretty much was on the money in thinking you guys were the Phantom Thieves, and you decided to let him join. So Saya's palace. It's a casino. The song is crazy, and the whole palace was a lengthy one. Wait a second, why does this place look familiar? Well, turns out this was the first place in the game. The story just went a full circle and the events that happened in the prologue are happening now. So, all that happens, and that's the end of the flashback. Believe it or not, Akechi was the one who ratted you. Makes sense, but why? Now that the flashback is over, what next? So the game is now in the present, and Saya is asking the last of her questions. You just have to avoid ratting your friends to progress with the rest of the game. And then you give her the phone that you have for the next part to go as planned. The next part is Akechi killing the protagonist. That's pretty gruesome. Well, that's the end of that. Actually, no it isn't. You see, this part here after Saya left the room all took place in the Metaverse. They fabricated a palace just for this one part. This was so the protagonist can leave the investigation room and ends up having to lay low. Sure, we'll pretend like that made sense. And here is where the whole thing matters. Shido is next, and you should know that he's the one who got you into your probation. You already know that he's corrupt, so that saves some time. Now you just have to figure out what his palace is like. And it's a giant bow. You do stuff, and then Akechi comes and fights you guys. Then another version of Akechi comes and kills the real Akechi. That's how Shido saw Akechi this whole time. By the way, Akechi was the illegitimate child of Shido. Man. So when Akechi dies, you guys target Shido in one big calling card. It was one of the best cutscenes this game had to offer. I even had chills when I saw this. That's to let the public know that you're not dead, and it's also to grab Shido's attention. So you fight Shido's shadow, and he felt the change in heart, so they gave him a pill to try and destroy his cognition, including the Phantom Thieves. This makes you guys rush to get out of the palace, which ultimately kills Ryuji. Just kidding, he's fine, but it's finally over, or at least it should have been over. You guys plan to celebrate, but it's late at night, so you decide to have it another time. However, when you get back to the cafe, you find the whole place trashed. Some stuff happens with Shido's goons, but it's all good. But something strange happens in the next couple of days. Shido gives his apology like planned, but then people start forgetting the Phantom Thieves even existed. You guys end up going into Mementos to discover more, and find the Mementos treasure, the Holy Grail. It fuses Mementos with Tokyo, and people don't see this as abnormal at all. Then people forget you guys even existed, and you slowly disappear. You all are in the Velvet Room trying to figure out what to do. This is where Caroline and Justine fuse to be Lavenza. And then, Lavenza kicks out the fake Igor. I thought they decided to change his voice for this game. Guess it's back to the goofy one. You go back to Boner Shibuya to fight some deities, and after all that, here comes Yaldabaoth. It starts with the Holy Grail, and then it transforms into the God of Control, Yaldabaoth. Once you beat him, Ren, or Joker, summons a new, one-time use persona. This giant persona shoots ahead through Yaldabaoth and ends this whole thing. Everyone remembered the Phantom Thieves and stuff, and you guys saved Christmas, but Morgana disappears. Not really. Here we are, the final arc. Yaldabaoth has been defeated. You're able to celebrate Christmas because Akechi went to the judge instead of you. Morgana returned. It was only his metaverse self that disappeared. And now with the new year coming, there shouldn't be anything else left. I wish, man. I really do. Well, you remember Kasumi, right? Yeah, you already know what's coming. If you complete Kasumi's social link, which is only 5 levels, Maruki's social link, the school counselor, and Akechi's social link, you will get the last part of the game, the Maruki arc. This whole story starts on New Year's Eve. You have a dream about being in the counselor's office. You follow a butterfly out, And that was the dream. When you wake up, you see something strange already. Morgana's a human. Why did this have to happen? You go to the shrine as planned, but then you notice something. Everything that shouldn't be real or happening is real or happening. That's very strange. So what ends up happening is you, Yoshizawa, and Akechi all form a B team to figure this out. The palace that you and Yoshizawa went in earlier is showing, so you guys go in it. While you're in here, a couple of things happen. You find out Maruki is the palace ruler, and it's not the shadow version. It's him in the flesh. You guys find out that Kasumi Yoshizawa never was with you guys, and the whole time, she was her little sister, Sumire Yoshizawa. Turns out, Kasumi died saving her, so Sumire obviously wants to forget about that, and Maruki takes advantage of that. He gives you and Akechi a choice to join the world and get your dreams come true, or to fight him. Well, you guys have time to do that, so you spend the days making the Phantom Thieves remember this isn't reality. He gives you the option again, and if you decline, you fight Sumire's persona. But then you get her back with you guys, and she becomes gloomy for some time. You go through Maruki's palace like normal, and you find things about him. In a way, his backstory really isn't that tragic at all. His girlfriend is mentally unstable, and Maruki feels a glimpse of his persona powers. Pretty much, he couldn't do much until his persona awakened. He was able to help his girlfriend during Boner Shibuya's time, but it costed their relationship. From this point, he decided to make everyone's dreams come true, even if it was too fabricated. But with the Phantom Thieves, they decided that reality should be what you make of it instead of some fake vision. So that's the whole motivation behind Maruki and the Phantom Thieves. He gives you guys one last chance to take up his offer, but if you don't, it's time to fight him. Cause you believe you can overcome the hardships of reality and everyone should follow. So now after you've gone through the whole palace, it's time to fight him. This battle is so long, so I didn't even bother to record it. Instead, I'll skip to the end. After he summons his true persona, Adam Kadamon, he focuses all his energy to one punch. You guys take advantage to let Joker charge to his head, and then bang! Another gunshot to the head. But it's not over yet, as now Joker and Maruki are having a fist fight. But that's when Maruki comes back to his senses and decided to live life like normal. And that's the whole journey. Now comes Joker's departure day, and for some reason, the FBI looking people are chasing after you guys. You said your goodbyes the day before and meet Sumire at the train station. And once you go on the train, it appears as if Akechi never really died. I forgot to mention, but the Akechi you were with this whole time was a fake version of him. But I just don't understand that part. Is he alive? Is he dead? Who knows? But that was the whole story. It feels as if I finished my duty now. But there's still more before this video ends. So stick around just a little longer. That was a pretty long story. I just want to say a few things before I finish this review. You may already know this, but this game has an amazing amount of detail in it. There are so many things that if you look at it in any perspective, whether it's music, art, or a game perspective, there are so many things you will appreciate. This is why I like making videos like this, as it makes me appreciate more things than I already do for a lot of games. The Easter eggs and small moments that happen that break the tension in this game are so nice. It gives you such a breath of fresh air. You will see some references to Persona 4, like the most obvious ones, the ads for Rise and Kanami, a character who appeared in Persona 4 Dancing All Night. I think once I had a moment where one of the two went to a mall when I was hanging out with Ryuji and everyone went crazy. There's something called the Thieves' Den, which is a new addition to Persona 5 Royal. This is actually one of the best things I've seen added in a video game. Sometimes, games would put some sort of a gallery to celebrate the game or the series, but Persona 5 took that idea and times it by like 100. You got a gallery, a place to watch cutscenes, a place you could customize, a place where you could listen to any of the songs from the game, a place with custom achievements, and most importantly, a place to play Tycoon in, all in one. This is one of the most handy features I never knew I needed. I didn't need to play like 50 hours of the game this time because all the major cutscenes were right here. I'm truly grateful for this addition, and with the addition of Tycoon, this is hands down the best museum type collection in a game. And do I need to talk about how stylish this game is? I've talked about how good this game looks in previous videos, but man, this looks gorgeous! I really admire the artistic direction the game went in, as it just proves that you don't need realistic graphics to make a game look good. Imagine a reality where Persona graphics were trying to go for a more Yakuza styled look. The inclusion of New Game Plus is also present in this game. Believe it or not, I didn't know you could battle the Velvet Room assistants after beating the game. That was a feature in all Persona games regardless of which version, so you could fight Margaret in Persona 4, Elizabeth in Persona 3, and both Lavenza and Caroline and Justine near the end of the New Game Plus. I find that crazy. There's also the DLC included in this game. The Velvet Room battles have you and Makoto as possible opponents with the DLC. There are also other personas and costumes you can have in the Metaverse. I really like the DLC included. If it wasn't already obvious, I really like these games. Was my positive feedback that vague? Obviously, I would easily tell anyone to play this game, as long as they're cool with RPGs, of course. Scott the Wasp. But if I were to rank the games I'd played, it's really tough. I'd put Persona 4 on top just cause I can, and Persona 5 under it. The story was decent, but it wasn't anything crazy. You know, just kids solving the world problems while corrupt adults have all the power. Another thing I would rather is Persona 4's difficulty. Believe it or not, I didn't find Merciless that hard to play on. For some reason, Persona 4's expert mode was harder for me. Am I just good at RPGs? This game also progresses so slowly. They knew this to the point where they added a fast forward button. Whatever the case, that is my opinion. I've extended this part for too long, so I'm just gonna end the review here. Now, come at me, Takumi.
That light, it's so bright.
That must be the end of his palace. Come on, let's go see what's up.
Hold on. This place gives me bad memories.
That's exactly why we're here. I know it makes everyone uncomfortable, and I take advantage of that for my own good.
You're sick.
He's right. No human can possibly enjoy that. I assume you've got a persona, so I'm just gonna get rid of it from you.
First, thank you for the compliments. Second of all, you really think you can take out my persona that easily? Fine then. We'll see about that. Kane! Come on out! I've got some friends that want to play with you.
What the?
I sense him inside. He's using Kane as a shield. We have to destroy Kane to actually get to him.
I'm surprised you knew that. So, who wants to go first?
Oh man, why do I have to be the party leader? Take this! Whoa.
It looks like we can't use physical attacks on him. Oni!
What? You actually hurt me. That's it, Kane. Take out Eve. Die!
Oh no!
Sippy! Sippy, you didn't have to help.
It's alright. I'm not gonna die. I just can't move. Finish him off for me.
I'll do more than finish him off. I'll end him.
But, isn't that the same thing?
Persona.
Ebe. That's the legendary Persona.
The Carpenter. It's majestic. It's so big. Ow!
Let's end this.
And I believe we can fly up in the sky. One day we may just be able to touch down on a star. Off the road we have to go. The rollers path we shall proceed until the end of our road. There's no turning back for us, because we know that I believe.
It's over, Takumi. There's no way we could use our personas now. So soften up.
Why did it end up this way? I won't accept this!
Don't fight anymore. It's over, Takumi. We have your treasure, so don't resist.
So, I assume you're gonna finish me off now.
If it were up to me, yes, I would. But I'm not like you. And if I finished you off, it would make me worse than you.
So that's it then. I guess this world won't exist for the both of us.
That's right.
Wait, Sippy, does that mean goodbye?
Don't worry about it. We'll surely meet in the future.
Well, you said that last time, so I'll take your word this time.
Thanks for helping me a second time. I can see why my cousin and you have such a great bond. Here, hold on to this.
The treasure?
I won't be going to the real world, so it's meaningless for me to keep it.
You're right. Well, Takumi, I hope you turn into a new leaf after this.
You beat me fair and square. I have no other choice.
Well then, let's help each other in the future, Sippy.
Yeah. Have a safe life now.
I will. By the way, you have a cousin.
Well, off to my final destination.
E, did you do something to talk to me?
Can't say. Why? Is he hurting you?
No, he actually wants to be our friend. Even if you say you didn't change him, thank you very much.
Alright.
Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for all that I've done, and I feel a lot better having friends than bullying people.
Hey man, it's fine. As long as you know what you did wrong, we'll give you a second chance.
Thanks, Eebworld.
らな